Alright, so I know a lot of you guys are intimidated by writing for the part 2s, but here's the easy way to do it. You're going to be writing in the following styles. So if you look here, you can see where the needs improvement is. I know part of it fell behind my head, unfortunately. But you can tell it's really short. There's no punctuation really. There's no quotes being used. And then if you get to the almost there is a quote that's being used, but there's no in-text citation. There's still some conventional errors like punctuation, capitalization, that kind of thing going on. Whereas with the mastery one, you see that it starts with a thesis statement. It uses 2 quotes of evidence. It uses in-text citations right after those quotes. It tells why it meets the thesis statement right after the in-text citation. So why does it have that? And then it ends with the very last sentence, which is restating what was originally said or summarizing what's important about it. So that's what I'm looking for mastery. I'm not looking for absolute perfection, like there is a quotation mark missing here, but we're looking for you're getting it mostly. I'm not seeing the same errors happening repeatedly. Alright. Big thing that I'll be looking for as well is that you do not use personal pronouns. So no I, no you, no we. That way we sound more professional. The others are just if you want to go to the next level, if you're already really good with the personal pronouns, you can make sure to avoid these as well. Alright, so there's a link that will be provided with this video. It will also be on the Recordings for English 1A page, so you can also see it there. So here you will use the link and click into the assignment document that way. So it's a form that you fill out. So instead of writing a full paragraph like you saw in the last one, you're just going to be writing all the pieces in the order that a paragraph would be. Now, once you've done that, you need to come up with the thesis statement for question 2. Hoping that you already wrote your name. You should know that one, right? And click next. Alright, so what we do is we look for action verbs and nouns that are within the question itself. And some of those action verbs are only going to be for us as the writer. So we're not going to use those when we would do the thesis statement, but it's good to note what we need to do. So, how does the complicating incident, complicating incident, that's definitely one. In a community park, although important, we don't really need to include the title. You can if you feel like it. Affect, that's an action verb. We definitely need that one. Samara, that's a noun. We need that one. Describe the complicating incident. That's telling us as the writer what to do. We don't want to use that in the thesis statement, but we do want to use it in how we answer. Its impact on Samara's thoughts, feelings, actions, and interactions. So that its impact all the way through interactions is definitely important as well. So when we get it all together, these are the words that we need to use within our thesis statement, or at least the idea of it. So you're going to put that into your question number 2 thesis statement. So go ahead and pause the video here before you move on. Alright, you must know what the complicating incident is. The complicating incident is when something terribly goes wrong or when the conflict is introduced. So we know that something is a problem. So that's what we're going to look for whenever we're doing the reading. Next, we're going to read the text, and you can actually highlight where you see information that stands out about the complicating incident itself and how it affects Samara's thoughts, feelings, actions, and interactions. I will do the first for you, if it will allow me to. The first page, and then you can do quotes on your own for the second page. Alright, so the first page, we're starting with, it was Friday, and she was walking home from school. Samara thought about what she would do that weekend. Everyone would be at the fundraiser for new sports equipment at the high school on Saturday. As she was trying to remember if any good movies were coming out this weekend, she noticed a group of kids playing tag. Samara thought they looked comical, running around in circles on a small plot of land between two houses. Well, they certainly seemed happy, thought Samara, as the light turned and she crossed the street. So far, no conflict. Next paragraph. On the opposite side of Cherry Street, Samara saw Mr. Peters sitting on a bench. He was reading his newspaper as the heavy traffic of the town's main thoroughfare whizzed by him. She wondered how he could concentrate. Ooh, wait a second. Wondering how he could concentrate. That tells us that there's a problem. So Mr. Peters is reading with heavy traffic whizzing by him. She wondered how he could concentrate. Later, as she took the last turn onto her street, Samara saw her neighbor planting her annual vegetable garden. Every year, Mrs. Yang grew eggplant, cucumbers, and bok choy because that's all she had room for. The garden looks good so far, Mrs. Yang, Samara called. Again, no more problems. Next paragraph. Thank you, dear, Mrs. Yang said. You know, if I had room, I would plant enough vegetables to feed the entire neighborhood. She doesn't have room. So that tells us that there's a problem. My mother had a garden that was 1 square acre when I was a little girl in Korea. All right, next paragraph. As Samara nodded and waved goodbye, she started thinking about what she had seen on her walk home that day. She realized that Pine Grove did not have any open public spaces where everyone could go to relax and enjoy nature. So that's what the big problem is. Which tells us also that there was one more thing that made her feel this way. When she saw the kids running around, that was part of it as well. So she noticed a group of kids running around on a small plot of land. The only unused space was a vacated plot on Cedar Avenue that was completely overgrown. Suddenly, Samara had a great idea. Oop, there it comes into the thoughts. What was her great idea? She decided to spend her summer campaigning for a new community park. The only problem was she had no idea where to start. So we know that the conflict is that there is no public space. There's no park for Pine Grove to enjoy. So that would be one of the quotes that we could use. Any of these to explain, to describe what the complicating incident is. On the next page, you're going to be looking more into Samara's thoughts, feelings, actions, and interactions in the story itself. So how did the place not having a park and her choosing to go and make a park affect her? What did she think? What did she feel? What actions did she take, and what interactions? This time I'll just read, and you can choose quotes yourself by pausing and then taking that information down. Samara spent many afternoons over the next few weeks at the library with Wanda and a few other librarians, drawing up a detailed plan to present to town officials. Samara and the librarians even planned and priced out irrigation necessary for the area that was designated as a garden. When the day of the zoning board meeting arrived, Samara felt nervous, but Wanda and the other librarians were there for moral support. Samara thought she at least sounded confident as she presented her idea to the board. When she finished her presentation, she was ready to wait patiently for an answer. Wanda told her that this kind of decision might take weeks, so Samira was surprised when the board members asked her to stay while they deliberated. The president of the board explained that Samira's presentation had been the last order of business for that day, and he wanted his board to be able to agree on one thing before they left after about 15 minutes. Samira was informed that the community park had been approved. Pause here. Make sure to highlight any evidence that you see of Samira thinking, feeling, the actions she took, anybody that she interacted with. Next paragraph. Samira had been telling her neighbors and friends about the park from the moment she thought of it, and it seemed as though everyone wanted to be a part of making her vision a reality. As soon as her idea was approved, Samira called a meeting for anyone interested in collaborating. At the meeting, residents voted on what would be included on the land: a play set for young children and one for older children, a swing set, several park benches, and a dog run. It was also decided that there would be a cooperative organic vegetable garden and an herb garden at the north end of the park. Residents agreed that Mrs. Yang would manage the gardens. At Wanda's suggestion, Samira asked a representative from a nearby horticultural society to come and advise the group on the design of the park, the best native shrubs to plant, and where to put them. Samira also asked local businesses to sponsor the park by the square foot, so that the community would be able to afford equipment and plants. Surprised by the response, Samira went to the bank to open an account where the surplus would be saved for the next spring. In a few weeks' time, the space had been cleared, and residents were beginning to roll out sod and plant small vegetable plants and summer flowers. By midsummer, the community was able to enjoy the new peaceful space. Samira was happy to have been a part of creating not only a beautiful space, but a common area where residents could come together. All right, so make sure that you have highlighted any quotes that you see in here in your own, or written it down in your own document, so that way you have them for the next step. So the next step is giving the first quote of evidence. Number 3, you are going to write one of the quotes from what you had said before, but you want to make sure that the quotation marks are the same, that the capitalization is the same. This first one for number 3 must define the complicating incident. So that's literally from the first page that we did. So any of these could be the quote that you use. You'll then describe it more in your reasoning. So if we were to use this first one here, we would say quotation marks, she noticed a group of kids ... because there's words between what we're saying. Look, we'll say running around. We're going to remove the comical. Running around in circles on a small plot of land. End quote. So if you would like, you may use this same one that I just created. Okay, so this is yours to use if you want for question number 3. Let me make that a little bit darker so you can see it. Sorry. Which will bring us to the in-text citation, which we will do in the next video. Sorry it's so long, but it takes a little bit to get through. See you in part 2.